Listen, are the Cincinnati Bengals going to be in the Super Bowl? That is why we have brought on Mo Egger, the resident Bengals expert, to talk about that. And because it's down to the Final Four, let's bring him in from Cincy, going to the beautiful Buckeye State. Do we have Mo Egger? What's up? There we go. Hey, Mo, how you doing today, my friend?
What's up, Rod? What's happening?
Everything. I was thinking of you Saturday, of course, with the AFC divisional game at Tennessee. Was your heart in your throat when Joe Burrow was being sacked 9 times? Could we look back for a second and take me through that game, what it was like for Cincy to watch that?
On one level, awesome because they were in it, right? They hadn't been in that game for 31 years, and so here they are playing in the AFC divisional round, and it sort of felt like house money. And then the game is, needless to say, close, and you kind of had a sense it was going to come down to the last few seconds, maybe if not the last few seconds, certainly the last few minutes. But in the middle of all that, your franchise guy is getting the crap kicked out of him. And so that was tough. And honestly, we've spent a lot of time this week talking about it. It wasn't just, the offensive line wasn't very good, which it wasn't. Joe put himself in a position, unfortunately, where I think he took too many sacks. He took more sacks than I think he should have because of holding onto the football, I think at times not checking into the right play at the line of scrimmage. If you would have said to me last week, Joe Burrow is going to be sacked 9 times on the road against a team that runs the ball effectively, I would have said there's almost no chance they win. And yet here we are getting set to watch Joe Burrow stare down Patrick Mahomes.
So let's go there. Chiefs favored by 7. Can you objectively look at this matchup on Sunday, and how do you feel about that line?
Well, the line makes sense to me. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They haven't been great in recent years covering the number at home. They covered this past week against the Buffalo Bills, but needed overtime to do so. But I understand. I mean, it's one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. It's an offense that at times is absolutely unstoppable. And yes, the Bengals did beat Kansas City here just a few weeks ago. At the same time, the Bengals needed an absolutely perfect set of circumstances to go their way, from the game that Jamar Chase had to the way they handled the final few minutes of the game. Kansas City getting some key penalties, Bengals defense rising to the occasion. I can understand from an odds maker's perspective why you wouldn't be swayed by that game. And so my guess was it would be 6.5. So 7 is sort of in that range.
What do you think, Mo, Sunday's game comes down to? What are the keys in your mind?
I've said this on my show, and I'm sure my listeners get tired of hearing it. I think it comes down to one thing, which is the Bengals not turning the football over. And to me, the key to what their team has done, going back to the last 4 games of the regular season, I'm not counting the Week 18 game against the Browns because they didn't play anybody of consequence. But if you go back to their last 3 regular season wins, they had 0 turnovers. And they played different styles. Against Denver, it was field position, ball control. We're not going to take too many shots downfield against that secondary. They still won against a team that's not good offensively because 0 turnovers. Against Baltimore, 525 in the air for Joe Burrow got all the headlines. To me, what stood out was 0 turnovers. Against Kansas City, you can't overcome 3 different 14-point deficits if you have turnovers. They did overcome 3 different 14-point deficits because they had no turnovers. 0 against Las Vegas, 1 last week against Tennessee, which kind of opened the door to the Titans. So, we talked before about the sacks and the pressure on Joe Burrow. I'm not as much worried about the yardage total of the sacks. I'm more worried about consistent pressure eventually causing the kind of turnover that you can't afford in a game like this. Go back to much earlier in the season. At one point, Joe Burrow led the league in interceptions thrown. He was making a lot of bad decisions. They had some special teams turnovers against San Francisco, which is why they lost that game. They had a crucial turnover by Joe Mixon, their running back, against the Chargers, which is why they lost that game. When this team has played clean football, they've won. If they play clean football on Sunday, I'm not going to tell you they're going to win. I will tell you they have more than a puncher's chance.
Is there anything about Patrick? Well, not anything. That's a dumb question. Patrick Mahomes. How vaunted is he to face just going in there? Like, do you feel he is, like, what he pulled off against the Bills makes me think he's the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's won the player vote saying as much.
It's the most talented quarterback on the planet. There's no getting around that. The arm talent is insane, and it's unfair to compare any quarterback to what he can do purely throwing the football and throwing the football on the run, creating different angles. He is I think, a more physically gifted version of Brett Favre, where he can sort of take chances because of what he can do with his arm. And look, the reality is, when they played here 25 days ago, Patrick Mahomes in the first half looked unstoppable. And you watched against Buffalo. If you go back to when the Bengals played the Kansas City Chiefs, Zach Taylor, at the end of regulation, with his team not leading, did everything he could to not score. Why? He wanted to leave zero time for Patrick Mahomes. So then look back at this past Sunday. What did Sean McDermott, the coach of the Buffalo Bills, do? Gave Patrick Mahomes an opening, gave him 13 seconds. And Zach Taylor, after that game against Kansas City, said, look, against most quarterbacks, it's not something we would have done, but that is Patrick Mahomes. He is absolutely imposing, and he's even more imposing when you play him on his own field. And so, yeah, look, we know the challenge the Bengals have. Chances are they're not going to win the sort of game we saw them beat Tennessee in, which was kind of a rock fight. You're going to have to outscore them. The good news for Bengals fans is we just saw Cincinnati outscore Kansas City. The difference is obviously that game was here. This game is at Arrowhead.
A real nugget, Mo, in what you said when you said the Bengals, it feels like they're playing on house money. I just wonder what it's like in your market, because where I come from, pro football, 20 years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Fans are all over the players all the time. Oh, you're so great, kissing their butt, and you can get caught up in that. Like, tell me a little bit about Zach Taylor. Is he able to keep the head shrunk and focused so that does not creep into their head on Sunday? Because it's human nature to think, hey, we're not even supposed to be here. You need to play relaxed, but you can't play too relaxed, right?
Yeah, I think it starts with the quarterback. I think it starts with Joe Burrow, who just, as cliche as it sounds, just epitomizes cool. And look, they have celebrated themselves, but I've never gotten the sense that they're too impressed with themselves. And they've done a pretty good job this year of, when they won the playoff game against the Las Vegas Raiders, that was cathartic for this city. 31 years. I mean, you and I have talked about how bad they've been. And I thought the Bengals players and coaches handled it in stride. They recognized the significance of the moment. They recognized what it meant to the city. They recognized what it meant to their team. But I don't think they dwelled on it. They've played this Kansas City team. They know how good they are. And I think they also understand what's at stake here. I think they also understand the rareness of opportunity. And, we would all love to think, boy, the Bengals, this is just the beginning. They're going to be back here again and again and again and again. And maybe they will be. But opportunities like this only come along so often. And so I think from a mental and an emotional standpoint, they're going to be ready going in. I do think there is something to fall behind in a stadium like that against an opponent like that. That could test your will. We haven't really seen the Bengals have to go through a test like that so far. But I start with Joe Burrow. He looks like a 7th or 8th year pro. He's so poised. He's so cool. He's so confident. I think everything sort of flows from him. And as long as he makes the trip and as long as he gets on the plane on Saturday, I think they're going to be okay.
Good stuff. I love the preview. 2 last things I see with your Bearcats hat. Zach Collaros just signed a contract, highest paid player in the CFL. If you're following, I just wanted to let you know if you didn't know, Cincinnati alum.
I did.
Highest paid player. Yeah, back-to-back championships. And also, how's the new studio there, Mo? There's nothing that really gives you tingles like a new radio studio. You got all the kinks worked out?
See, try to be diplomatic about this. We haven't missed a show yet. The microphones work. I don't know when this television's going to turn on. I don't know when that's gonna. I'm not sure what the point of having a television behind me is. We're getting there. It's a work in progress. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Been there. And sorry to tell you, it may never get fixed. Mo, thank you.
This is a medium. This is a medium that's over 100 years old. So you would think we could perfect it.
Hope to chat with you this Super Bowl week, my friend. Thanks for the visit.
Nothing would make me happier, Rod. Thank you.
The great Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 Cincinnati, where the RP show airs all across the Buckeye State on Buckeye Cable Systems. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see,
hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.